Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name's Barry. I'm a lecturer in the School of Multidisciplinary Technologies in TU Dublin, and I'm also working with Construction IT Alliance on a research-based initiative. This research-based initiative has, I suppose, come to its conclusion, or near enough to it, through the publication of our Bim and Ireland 2019 report. CitA commissioned a study at the beginning of the year with academics from the School of Surveying and Construction Management and the School of Multidisciplinary Technology in TU Dublin, as well as in Trinity College Dublin, to investigate a number of different research initiatives across Ireland. And what we have produced now is this report. And essentially, in a nutshell, this report looks at BIM maturity in Ireland. So where are we? Where are we going? And the whole idea of looking at this report was that since 2017, when the original report was released, there's been a roadmap, there has been a digital strategy, there's been a lot of talk, but realistically, where are we as an industry? Have we improved? Have we disimproved? Have we advanced? So that's why we decided to come together and see, okay, let's get some answers to this. As we can see, building information modelling shows no signs of stopping in terms of its growth, its advertisement. Recent publications here, such as the Expert Group of Future Skills, Engineers Ireland State of the Report, Construction Sector Performance, Action Jobs for Plans, all put building information modelling still as a key enabler to increase productivity within the industry, to make it more interesting for people that are, let's say, across and abroad, trying to pull them back, and then overall just offering a more innovative and interesting way of doing business. So what we did is we launched a set of BIM macro maturity models. We worked with academics, Dr. Mohammed Qasim and Dr. Bilal Sukar, who enabled us to use their template, and we applied this in 2017. And essentially what this looks at is the different markets in Ireland and the BIM maturity. So what I'll just do now is I'll run through very quickly where we are 2017 to 2019. And more importantly, what I'll do is I'll show you exactly where we are in the roadmap using these figures. So I'll go back to the 4 pillars of the roadmap, and what we'll be able to see at the end of the presentation where we are at this moment in time, what we've done, and importantly what else we actually have to do in order to progress it. So the first model looked at to establish the extent of BIM diffusion across markets. So what this looked at was how advanced we are when it came to BIM technologies, or modelling technologies, modelling processes and collaboration practices. And as we can see here from 2017 to 2019, there's been a nice increase across processes and policies. So we have seen an improvement in the last 2 years when it came to technologies, and those technologies have been further integrated with collaboration and then further responding towards processes. So why is that? Well, the improvement of policy and process in regards to BIM collaboration fields can be partially attributed to the roadmap and government's digital strategy. A more significant development has been the introduction of ISO 9650. The maturity model should exhibit further growth in the coming years, as the National Standards Authority of Ireland now offers third-party certification to ISO 1960 Part 2. However, while there has been improvement, it's not a significant improvement. It's not like, we're top of the leaders, but in all fairness, you take a win where you get it. There is an improvement in that regard. The next model investigated the BIM maturity of countries using a comparative matrix of using component-specific matrices. So what this model looked like is looked at objects and milestones. So we can see there's an improvement there. Champions and drivers, frameworks, noteworthy publications, education, benchmarks, standards and deliverables, and infrastructure. And what we can see once again here, there's been a nice improvement in this model as well. And we can associate this is the reason why our objectives, milestones and frameworks have improved because of strategy, the roadmap, and ISO. It has had an effect on the industry. It is offering something, I suppose, that we can pin our hopes and pin our kind of colour to in terms of finding something that's standardised and somewhere to follow. And a lot of companies, despite the roadmap not say advancing to the level we would like it to advance, are looking at it as a possible benchmark for their companies to understand what they should be achieving over let's say a 3 to 4 year process. while other figures have significantly grown, the others remain stable. So some of them haven't grown, but just remain or plateaued. Ireland's technology and infrastructure continues to attract foreign investment, with Project Ireland 2040 firmly placed to support businesses and communities across realising their potential. And learning and education remain strong. And this is one of the key things that we found as well in the learning and education. If we look at this here, I reached out to all of the different universities and colleges in Ireland and asked them what their BIM programmes and what you're doing. And what we can see here is that nearly every one of them have essentially really moved on in what they're offering. And what they're starting to do now is they're starting to integrate a number of BIM modules into the undergraduates. And they're starting to offer interdisciplinary collaborative projects where they're saying, okay, civil engineering, construction management, quantity surveying, mechanical, let's all bring them together into an interdisciplinary project, as well as a number of new postgraduate courses coming online. Another thing that I found is that there are a number of different research initiatives going on as well. So 2017 we were a bit light. 2019 we've seen a number of Horizon 2020 projects being commissioned. Bill's after having a great discussion there, some of the work going on in UL. We have Dr. John Spillane here as well, who's doing a number of good initiatives as well in this particular space. So John's here, if any of you'd like to talk to him in that particular area. UCD have BIM-based research initiatives and model view definition. DCU are making funding available for a postdoctoral scholar to investigate IFC. Horizon 2020 BIM-SAR project is looking at how we can integrate a training, microbyte training modules into the supply chain to help upskill people that mightn't have access to go to 3 to 4 years in college. And as we can see in here, the BICP team of TU Dublin and Trinity College continue to do work in this particular area. So, an interesting one here. This diffusion model looked at who's leading it. Is it top down, bottom up or middle out? And what we're finding again, results have not changed in this particular area. What we're finding is that the large contractors are the ones leading this particular area. So the SMEs are feeling a bit alienated. They're kind of finding it difficult to get into this particular space. And the reason why, as we see throughout this presentation, is that there's no funding available to do so. The top-down strategy, even though the government have put in place a digital strategy and the roadmap is there, there's no one leading it. So once again, the larger organisations, the big contractors, the ones reaching down and upskilling into the supply chain, as well as the educational and the likes of CitA and the likes of training organisations as well. This model investigated what way the government are approaching their BIM strategy. So what we had last year was a very passive approach in 2017. So we looked at make aware, encourage and observe. While, let's say, in the UK, it's a bit more assertive. It will be prescribe, enforce and control. So somewhere in the middle will be maybe the best option. Ireland, as we can see in here, are quite similar, but you have moved to a more active approach in regards to communication. So what does this model tell us? Well, we know that the construction sector group, which ensures a regular and open dialogue between government and industry, has been put in place. So this has helped create a more passive approach. And they will come back with a set of recommendations in regards to advance the decline in productivity within the sector. While results have improved in comparison to 2017, there is a slight reduction in incentivisation despite an increase in training, meaning that despite training, I suppose, progressing and people getting on with it, there's not a lot of, I suppose, funding available or incentivisation for people to actually take up building information modelling. These figures will be predicted to decrease or stagnate if the government fails to provide the industry with more encouragement and support BIM. And that's kind of the key message here. While there has been a bit of an increase in the last 2 years, if when we come back here in 2021, it will be quite concerning and say that these figures could really stagnate or regress. And the final model looked at comparing the roles played by different stakeholders. So that looked at who are the key roles in education, in the industry, and as well as in the technology sector. And what we found is in 2017, the technology developers were seen as the most influential technology players. However, developers, providers and advocates are now seen as co-leaders in this space. For the policymakers, which is concerning, the education institutes continue to have a much higher BIM future compared to policymakers. So despite these a move in a number of particular areas of milestones, objectives, the education institutes are still seen as the kind of go-to in terms of advice in policy. The survey also shows a significant drop for policymakers within this area, and construction organisations are seen as key process players. However, industry organisations and communities of practice are also ranked highly. And that kind of brings us to the Bim and Umbrella Forum, and that was another part of an initiative here where we brought together this forum, and it just offered another venue in regards to we brought the heads of the different BIM subcommittees, and they could have a space to integrate and discuss and talk and share ideas and thoughts. And now they were doing this without a doubt. This just gave another opportunity for this to happen. And some of the really important feedback I've been giving over this, and it's been terrific work done by the RRI with Michael down there and Ralph in regards to the release of the RRI BIM pack. Fantastic. The CIF have released a number of important documents helping. SCSI are now working on the RIA BIM pack to integrate with their practices. So every one of the institutes are doing something in this particular space. The NSI, for example, have had a number of members attend CEN committees. They have released the certification program, and as well as they are working on the addendum to the ISO 9650, and they have a committee put in place for that now and working in that regard. So, what does it all tell us about the roadmap? Where are we going? And what is our progress? So let's have a quick look. So the first one that we're looking at is our leadership pillar. While government has not provided leadership required as of yet, there is still evidence that the industry continues to mature. And that, in all fairness, goes down to the industry saying, okay, we're not getting the leadership, but this is a better way of doing business, and we're going to work within it because we can see it. That's just a better way of doing things. So in the recent MBS CitA survey, it was reported that 76% of respondents had adopted BIM. According to macro maturity models, leadership is represented by construction organisations, professional institutes and third level education. Despite no strategic funding being provided today for the government sector, some organisations continue to push BIM. A collective consortium of industry bodies have presented their findings to the CSG on a roadmap for what services the Centre of Excellence should offer. So part of the leadership was a Centre of Excellence. So we looked into this as another initiative of this kind of overall CITA's kind of goal this year. And what we put in here is a potential framework, a generic framework. We looked at Alexandra's Centre built Britain. And what we did was we looked at, okay, well, what are typical missions, what are typical scope of services, so we come up with different kind of scope of services. Scope selection, so what kind of partner models are available, what kind of funding models are available. So it's a generic kind of model just put in place to offer different opportunities or alternatives to kind of getting this up and going. The standard is quite impressive. The NSI has now developed a BIM certification program. There's the development of a national annex, ongoing release of templates and guidance documents such as the RI BIM pack. 3 Irish experts attend CEN. Funding available for a postdoctoral scholar. There are a number of really exciting and important standards out there at the moment, such as BRE. John's here today, so I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Kite Mark is another one, but there is a number of really, there's a lot of opportunities available in the market here, and that's making it quite interesting and making the selection, real focused. And the development of online tools and support to help implement national tools has yet to be progressed. So we're missing that one. Education and training. Third level education sector continues to be seen as a primary entity for upskilling. Professional institutes also continue to upskill. Organisations such as CITA, as we see here, continue to offer these events which are vitally important. To target skill shortage score, what we're suggesting is look at the likes of Class of Your Own, as well as the likes of BIMcraft. We've had these different presentations here, and want to look at how they went into secondary school and use these initiatives to kind of get secondary school students up and going. And Class of Your Own has been run in Portobello for the first time here in Ireland, so that model is coming across here, and that's quite exciting in regard to getting secondary school students interested in construction. At present, a National BIM Education Task Force has not been established. The Department of no online BIM assessment tool is available, and there is no alternative national framework of qualification levels being progressed. So these are things missing. And where we are procurement, we have a procurement phase BIM mandate for public works projects to commence in Q2 2019. As of yet, there's no online support, and concerning maturity, despite rising in this area, benchmarks and processes will stagnate unless clear direction is progressed. So in summary, Ireland has shown a steady increase in some aspects of BIM. The Irish EA sector has, by default, led this agenda. There are still many vital objectives to be reached within the roadmap that have still not been met. We find ourselves at a crossroad, and we need a push from we need a push from government in order to advance the BIM maturity within the sector. We cannot afford to stay static, and we must advance in line with other global jurisdictions. And realistically, there is a requirement for some form of funding and some service to be put across in order to advance, in order to achieve what was set out in the roadmap. I would advise you to read the Bim and Ireland 2019 report. It will be available, if not today, in the next day or two. This report goes into detail on all of these initiatives. It's a light read. It's not overly over academic. It's kind of industry based as well. So please have a read of it. It's definitely worth an understanding where we are, because we spend a lot of time really gauging the industry, and this report is exemplary in regards to where we are and state of the art of BIM in Ireland. Thank you very much.